I'm Catherine Potoff.
And I'm Beth Molnar.
We teach at Navigator Upper Elementary School in Pinckney, Michigan. Well, I think we had a couple of initial meetings where we talked about what we wanted to have to be the goals and objectives of this lesson. And what really we wanted to hit upon with the kids was creating awareness of the stray dog issue that's in the United States. And so we basically sat down with our curriculum and then looked at the new grade level content national standards that were created. Okay, I botched that. You'll have to cut that out.
No, keep going. Just keep going.
The Common Core standards,
Right.
although for math and science, although there aren't any that exist for social studies at this point, but we talked about what would be a good fit, how we could best address the issues of community involvement. And we are, our team is called Team Awareness. And so all year long, we had been doing projects that sort of had been rooted in community involvement, creating an awareness in the community within the students of various issues like hunger, homelessness, appropriate shelter, and then lastly the stray dogs.
Right. And we decided it fit well within the social studies curriculum because we do a citizen type involvement piece with our social studies that students kind of have to take a stand and defend their stand and kind of bring a public awareness for it. So that's kind of the way we went. But as we went along, it also fit into science, which we did a survey of dogs in their own neighborhoods that kind of modeled after the survey that you did in Detroit with the American Strays. We also did a writing assignment where they wrote from the perspective of a stray, which is turned out to be a great experience, and that was kind of a last minute decision, and it turned out to be one of the best. So
and sort of the genesis of dogs as humans companions, and that was really fascinating too for the kids to learn really how dogs, historically the development from wolves and how humans and dogs first began to have contact, and they stumbled upon some of the theories out there that the kids found to be actually interesting, they'd never heard of before. And we were surprised that the kids knew quite a bit, and then some children knew almost nothing.
Right. So, our team was really, really engaged in this and couldn't wait to do the next lesson and find out more. They, even on the writing assignment, I had students wanting to do more than one copy. I mean, when you can get a kid to want to write more than one perspective from a stray's dogs, you've hit the jackpot.
Oh, and some of the stories too. We ended the year on a very high note in that when Beth shared some of the writing samples from the children, when other children are tearing up because they're reading each other's and they're thinking about this is such an important issue. And that was very powerful for us. I'm getting a little teary thinking about it right now. Anything animal, I think, can be a very high interest topic, and particularly dogs, in that most children have had some kind of interaction with dogs.
Right.
I think from the fact that taking it from the very beginning of man's interaction with dogs all the way to current relationship of dogs with humans and the roles they serve and how this problem persists nevertheless, despite the fact that dogs are such an integral part of our lives. I think the kids came away really moved by it and very, motivated to try to do things about it.
It truly is. They were very interested in compassionate guardianship for animals, which was the goal. The culminating experience for our group was taking them to the Huron Valley Humane Society. Most all of them brought donations of some kind, either money or food or blankets or whatever the Humane Society needed. We also created magnets for each of the students that they could have in their car or on their refrigerator that had local shelters or animal control to call if they see a stray, what to do if they see a stray. They have a good vet, a 24-hour vet that they could call in case the animal was injured. And so there were lots of things that we did that we could probably expand upon next year. one of the things that research has found is that students or kids who are compassionate about animals grow up to be compassionate about other things in their lives, and people, and so I think it's a great way to foster good citizenship.
For me, and I think even for Beth, having some background about the world around them, about some information in the economy, some idea about how dogs have adapted and changed over time, some experience with dog interaction themselves. I think by 4th grade, most students have had one of those 3. And so it's also a pretty heavy topic, but I think emotionally and maturity-wise, by 4th grade, they're pretty ready to handle that. We have a lot of kids who are really thinking deeply on a whole level that they had really not shown all year long. There had been flashes of it, but I lament the fact that the year was ending, because this was definitely a project that the students didn't want to end.
Right.
And I think they were sad, I think most saddened by the end of the school year, because American Strays was going to be over for them. And hopefully they'll continue some of their work in 5th grade, because this is a project that really shouldn't have any end. And we even had children who were saying, well, I want to do a research report on this animal, or did you know about this breed? Did you know they worked here and there? All kinds of conversations were coming up. And then even, I think something else that was an offshoot was that a lot of the students then started talking about programs for homeless and economic renewal in the city of Detroit, which is where we looked at some of the footage and some things that we viewed with the kids. So I think they were starting to be compassionate. They're thinking about so many other issues aside from the dogs.
And I certainly don't think they were too young. If you read any of those perspectives from the kids in their writing, they had some great insight. And I think if you can start them now and be thinking about this, a lot of them were talking about how they could volunteer at the Humane Society. A lot of them were talking about adopting stray animals. If you can get kids that are they were very interested too in the dog fighting, that whole piece of it, and how could we stop that? How can we be better guardians of these animals that we've domesticated? So these 4th graders, these 10-year-olds, really got into it. They were very compassionate about it.
Wow, that's a great question, Tom, because I've really been very fortunate over the years to be able to take on some really interesting projects and do some really neat things. And we live in a community that's very supportive of our endeavors. But I would say that this particular set of lesson plans hit a nerve or struck a chord with these kids that many other math and science types of lesson plans that I've done have not. The other plans have been exciting and they've wanted to continue because it's been fun, and engaging. But I think this has been, it hits their heart. It hits their heart.
It hits their heart.
And I get a little teared up when I think about it, because children that we did not expect to feel wrote and acted and wanted to stay, and Chad wanted to stay in, give up their lunches to keep working on various things, or took the lead on creating some posters and some work that ordinarily would not have. So I really do think that this has been one of the best lesson plan execution creation experience that I've had in my 19 years of teaching. That's a long time already.
I think that's why I was so excited to do this with 4th grade. With the 2nd and 3rd grade group that I had that produced the documentary Homeless Pets and Economic Epidemic, that was one of the highlights of my 29 years of teaching that I would rank right up there. And 2nd and 3rd graders got it. So I was excited to move that on to 4th graders, and they exceeded my expectations in their interest, their engagement, their passion for it, taking it to the next level. It was kind of a life-changing experience for all of us. So it's great.
I guess when you put it that way, it really does seem it's a no-brainer in that there's more and more there's a push for teachers and children to go above and beyond and think very constructively about what they're doing. And there's been a big push about community involvement, community issues, and coming up with an item, I suppose, or a problem per se that all children can become invested with is difficult. And we've talked about various things in the past, like pollution or whether to mine or do various things, and some kids will be passionate about that and some kids will be just so. But when you are talking about stray dogs, when you're talking about dogs that have personality and there's an interaction, I think a project like American Strays and these lessons plans, really, it's an easy sell for children. It's an easy way for a teacher to hit upon the various benchmarks, probably in social studies, and then with the new national science standards and the Common Core with math, a lot of that is incorporated into these plans. So it just kind of takes care of everything.
It does. It's I would say that for 40 cents a kid, if you can get them to want to become better citizens and better pet guardians and help with these kinds of issues in our society, then
how could you afford to say no?
Right. That's pretty incredible. I think I
would say this. I don't think we're the first people who would be alone in saying that every year our budgets are cut. We have less and less to work with. But if I were looking to spend $10 on a lesson plan for my classroom, I would definitely consider this bunch of lesson plans because of the various disciplines that it hits upon.
Right.
And I think the outcomes have, like I said, far exceeded our expectations. And I think the one thing is these types of lesson plans and the type of learning that went on might not be easy to necessarily quantify, but if you could be in our classroom to see the impact that they had, it was truly remarkable.